Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we're going to dive into a discussion video talking about the Predecessor 1.0 launch, the Gamescom trailer reveal, the this, the that, the other, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you want to talk about. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Drop a like on the video, subscribe for future Predecessor content. Here we go. All right, the Predecessor launch is here, 1.0 after basically 2 years, just a little bit shy of 2 years of, early access development. The game is launched, and the implications of launch are very, very big. Now, let's talk about the patch. What all did the patch bring? There's some big ticket items, definitely some things that I'm really excited about and happy to talk about. The main one, I think there's like a really big change in two different ways. There's a really big gameplay change, and there's a really big out-of-game change. And these are the two best things about the patch, about the launch, bar none. And the in-game change is the removing of the invisible walls, right? Like the skybox invisible walls, whatever you want to call it. There will be new plays, new opportunities, really cool, crazy, engaging moments and gameplay that happens because of this change. This might be, dare I say, one of the most impactful changes since the really early rework of Fangtooth from like almost 2 years ago. This is nuts. This is very, very big. One of the best changes that I think Pred has ever made, and will probably lead to an increase in skill ceiling, the game knowledge, the potential, the knowledge, like I said, to know that play could be coming, and also to be able to execute it yourself is incredibly serious, and it's a big deal, and I'm very happy that they did that, because I think it's actually, the implications of it are actually more severe than I thought. I thought it was going to be like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually think it's pretty awesome. It's really, really awesome. I love that. The out-of-game big change is buying affinities with Amber. This is systemically a big thing. It's something that needed to happen a very long time ago. Now, here's the only downside to it. For new players coming into the game, it's awesome. It's not a new thing, right? Like, for them, it's just a thing that's there. So for them, it's great, because anyone new or like relatively new to Pred is going to see that, and it just looks like a thing that was in place. That's awesome, right? New game means affinities are new, means the currency is new to them, which means the purchasing it's all just, it makes sense to them, right? It's all there in place and what you would expect. For me, it's new and it's great. It's, like I said, it's one of the two big things that I'm very excited about, because it needed to be there. But unfortunately, it also doesn't feel that amazing, because, well, it needed to be there, and it's also really, really late. It's really, really late. This should have been in the game many, many months ago, probably 6+ months ago. That said, still, nonetheless, very, very excited that it is in the game. Now, there's also some other changes and some other things that came out with this update. We got balance patch. We got a new hero with Zanks, which is obviously great. Launching the game or doing any major patch with a new hero is obviously the most acceptable and expected thing. We got all new kinds of content with new sprays and a new skin line, the Undertow skin line, which I'm going to briefly touch on the pricing. I'm not super excited about it. I think that all the skin prices in Pred are just a little bit overpriced, but honestly, the bundled price is not the worst thing in the world. I'm not really going to complain about it too much. I don't think I'll be picking it up, because I just do think that currently, with the state of the game overall, I'm not kind of in an investor mode. I'm not really looking to drop any money on Pred, but all things considered, it's fine. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. It's fine. As a patch, what all the game offered us today to play with, new, changed, you can change the map in the UI. I'm sure there's some other things that I'm definitely going to forget as well, but all of what the game has to offer today is good. I'm very pleased with it. The things that made its way into the game with the 1.0 launch feels systemically good. It feels like this is going in the right direction, as Predecessor often feels like it's going in the right direction. I think that there have been a couple of moments in the history of early access development with Predecessor where it maybe felt like they weren't going in the right direction, and they actually were doing something poor. But in general, I would like to speak to their development and say that I think that the majority of the time, the things that they are working on complete release are good things. They're things that we want to see. They're things that we want to see them continue to iterate on. The map change. Sorry, another major map change that is a really systemically good thing is the trees added to the rivers, breaking sight lines from fog wall to fog wall, from mid lane to side lanes. This is a really good thing. All of these things are really good. Unfortunately, that's another one of those that's just like a little too little too late kind of a thing. For new players, it's just great. It's just good. It's nothing but good. So as a patch, very solid patch. You know, if I was just saying, hey, this is a new patch, really solid, probably 7, 8 out of 10. Brought some new content, brought, you know, a small UI change with that being able to resize the map, brought, you know, nice gameplay implications, brought the much needed and overdue ability to purchase affinity with Amber, which gives Amber more uses for new players who will be looking to either lock in on a hero and upgrade and buy their Amber or their affinity versus just purchasing new heroes, or for players that have a ton of Amber and want to spend that. Great. As a 1.0 launch, rather embarrassing, incredibly disappointing. I don't want to go too hard here, but not even close to a 1.0 launch, not even close. And you know, it's an interesting conversation to have, because at the same time, I can honestly say that I think that this is probably the best version of Predecessor that we've had. And so for that, I am happy. Truly, I don't have a complaint in terms of what we're actually playing. But it's contextual to the time that matters. It's contextual to the weight that matters. It's contextual to the implications of launch and what that means for the player base and for the new players coming into the game and going forward. This 1.0 launch, to me, will inevitably be a failure. This 1.0 launch it's not ready. It's simply not ready. There is not enough, and there's a very key word. I pause right here to let you know, to clue you in on this. There's not enough quality with this product. The product doesn't have enough quality things in it for players to engage with, quality ways to engage with the game, quality in terms of the presentation, quality in terms of the quality of life and the systems that are built and the way that you can appreciate the game or engage with the content. The 1.0 is in almost, and I've said this in the past about Predecessor, in almost every single area of the game, it is missing something in almost every single way possible. Profile page is missing all the data and match history. Custom games are missing, you know, the nuanced way to play custom matches. You know, practice mode is missing ways to test and, you know, to change and swap in between heroes that you either don't own or seamlessly be able to swap in between. The shop is missing a way to purchase individual items and content pieces with Amber as opposed to just bundles or as opposed to affinity. The profile page, where it features a lot of the you know, the small pieces of content, I want to call it filler content. That's not to slight the content, but just because I can't think of a better word. The filler content, banners, borders, emotes, the trails, the recall animation. It's the game is, in a sense, has all of those things, but is missing a lot of that content. There's not nearly enough for what would, you know, be acceptable, in my opinion, for a 1.0 game. The option for people to chase after it, the option for people to purchase more and turn it on. I mean, the only emotes in general in the game only come from affinity, so there's not even, you know, been a reasonable amount of effort and work put into emotes. The item system artwork, they launched a game without their own artwork. I don't know that is almost ever done in gaming. That seems almost unprecedented to me. The in-game UI receiving almost no changes in almost 2 years. The only noticeable in-game UI change, and I truly mean in-game UI change, and I say noticeable, it actually has changed in some of the early tests, pre-early access. Like before we could buy in and they did that like stress test or whatever they called it, the UI changed quite a bit. But since that time, since you could actually purchase into early access, there's been almost zero in-game UI changes. The tab screen, you know, completely unchanged. You know, whenever you want to look at you know, the tab screen. And I do like, I'll go ahead and throw this in there because I don't want to miss anything. I do like the voices, the voice of the pings. I think that's incredibly helpful. I think that quality would have been for it to be voice acted per the hero. Of course, obviously that's much bigger scale and scope, but I mean, if we're just speaking to it, quality would have been for each individual hero to be voice acted in that way, as opposed to it just being a generic bot voice, which is it's odd, but it's effective, right? Like, it is very good. I'm glad that it's in the game. It's much better than not having it in the game, but it's like bizarre, right? It's very bizarre to hear like a random voice from the perspective of a certain hero. And so I think the issue with Predecessor is that while this is probably the best version that the game has ever had, I don't necessarily think that that means that this version of Predecessor will be successful. And so my concerns are the same. I think that Predecessor does great work, but I think that their ability to produce that product comes too slowly. I think that their ability to continue to meet the demands of the player base at large will continue to falter. And I think that, with whatever spike in player base and whatever uptick in activity that Predecessor will find in the, in this day, in the coming weeks and in the coming months, will inevitably be for naught, because I do believe that the game is going to continue to have retention issues. We have a non-running 24/7 ranked mode with no rewards, and I tweeted this earlier, I unironically think one of the best things that came out of today's 1.0 launch is the fact that an off-site third-party website has updated themselves, Ometa City, to act as a actual ranking, like API ranking, data tracking website with a ranked leaderboard. And that is the quality that is missing inside the game. There is no way to relatively see your rank, your non-24/7 rank, versus that of the rest of the player base. And it begs the question, well, what does my rank mean? And you have to go off-site for that. And so, friends, I'm pleased with the game that I'm playing. I'm pleased in the sense that it's a fun game. It's a fun game to play. I'm pleased in the sense that I obviously clearly see why so many of us want to continue to play the game and have invested our time and thoughts and criticism and efforts into the game. But unfortunately, and I don't want to just prescribe doom and gloom, but unfortunately, I'm severely concerned. That is the position I'm in. I'm severely concerned for the future of this game, because I just don't see there being enough for players to chew into for the long term. I think that the next 3 to 6 months of Predecessor will be incredibly telling. I think that we can continue to see, and all we can see in terms of player-based numbers is Steam charts, of course. I know that's only one platform of many, but I think that we will continue to see a potential either stagnation from what we saw today or yesterday, depending on when you're listening to this. As of the 1.0 release, we may continue to see upticks at various points in these early months or early weeks, with certain marketing ad campaigns, with sponsored streamers potentially, if that's coming. I don't know if they're planning on doing that. So we may see these mini spikes and potential upticks in player activity and concurrent numbers, but in the coming months. And I would probably hypothesize 3 months to 6 months, I believe we will be back on trend, going negatively, where the honeymooning phase will end. The player base will, start to form their own opinions about what this product is, or, what issues 1.0 did or didn't solve, or what issues they're now becoming more familiar with or becoming more in tuned with. And ultimately, I think that Predecessor 1.0 will not be able to answer a lot of those in a timely enough fashion as we have seen them do in the past, which is essentially go too slow. I think that that's really what I'm saying. I think that as a patch, it's a phenomenal patch. It's the best way I can put it. It's a really good patch. As a 1.0 launch, it is a very bad launch. So friends, those are my thoughts. I wish nothing but the best for Predecessor. I don't come on here and get excited to, step on the game or, kick it while it's down, I guess. I don't think it's down. I actually think it's, we're probably numbers wise and analytically, we may be seeing some of the golden days of Pred here ahead of us. But the question is, how long will those golden days last? And how high can the highs get? So leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you think. Am I just a negative doom and gloomer? Do you have hope for the product? What do they need to do? Answer some of these questions with criticism and solutions. Because for me personally, if this is the current problem, it means that they're currently on a timer. The clock is ticking and they need to correct some of these issues, which is what's missing needs to be implemented, and it needs to be implemented in a timely fashion, which means incredibly quickly within the next 3 months, before we start to see the trend return back to where it was, where people essentially feel like the game's not changing and evolving and meeting their needs as a player. So leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, friends, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to become one another, tell someone you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.